After lying and claiming he was unhappy with the racist chants he inspired last week, the president is back to attacking 4 Democratic congresswomen of color. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Last week, after he incited a crowd at his rally to chant "Send Her Back" about Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, an American citizen and Somali refugee, Trump initially claimed to be unhappy about the chant he inspired, which was obviously BS. It's like if Mr. Met started pumping up the crowd at a game, and then when they chanted "Let's go Mets," he said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, guys! That is uncalled for." Donald Trump is not known for disavowing racism. In fact, he won't disavow anyone who supports or praises him because he's a raging narcissist. He rails against communism, but if Mao came back from the dead and endorsed him, Trump would start wearing tunics the next day. We've been here before, countless times. Like the time he repeatedly refused to disavow the support of former KKK leader David Duke, and then later lied and said it was because he couldn't hear the question.
He says, I'm just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, and you said, honestly, I don't know David Duke.
Okay, so let me tell you, I'm sitting in a house in Florida with a very bad earpiece that they gave me, and you could hardly hear what he was saying.
Even when he lies, he sounds like an addled grandpa FaceTime with his grandkids from a nursing home. I'm here in this house in Florida. I can't hardly hear what you're saying. My ear trumpet is on the fritz. And then there was Trump's reaction to Charlottesville when he refused to condemn neo-Nazis and white supremacists. 2 days later, Trump's advisors again had to wrangle him to issue a statement disavowing the white supremacists, and it was against Trump's wishes. Aides tried to convince the president he needed to clarify his remarks, but Trump appeared to resist, repeatedly saying, I don't know about this. This doesn't feel right to me. And then after he gave the speech, Trump told his aides, that was the biggest mistake I've made. That's the worst speech I've ever given. You think that's the worst speech you've ever given? Dude, you've given speeches that technically don't even qualify as human speech.
There's another crucial election in North Carolina's 9th. You know what, right? 10,000 known or suspected gang members. God bless the United States.
Trump has repeatedly refused to disavow racism because he's a racist, and the core of his worldview is that citizenship for non-white people is conditional. If you don't praise him, you're not a legitimate citizen, which is why he can't stop mounting racist attacks on the 4 Democratic congresswomen known as the Squad, repeating those attacks in unhinged tweets on Sunday and again today.
The president tweeting, I don't believe the 4 congresswomen are capable of loving our country. They should apologize to America and Israel for the horrible, hateful things they have said. They are destroying the Democratic Party, but are weak and insecure people who can never destroy our great nation.
The Squad is a very racist group of troublemakers who are young, inexperienced, and not very smart.
All right, first of all, you're calling them troublemakers? Are you trying to sound like a Scooby-Doo villain? I mean, it would make sense since your face looks like a Halloween mask. Is President Chien with a gang tying him up in an abandoned amusement park? Second, it never stops being amazing to me how much he projects onto other people. He called them weak, insecure, racist, inexperienced, and not very smart. What's next? They can't even pronounce basic words. That's why they hate the
United States.
But while Trump was waging his racist attacks last week, we found out about yet another potential crime that almost certainly would have landed Trump in a courtroom if he were not the president. First, let's just remember that right now, one big reason Trump hasn't been charged with the crime is the fact that Justice Department guidelines say a sitting president cannot be indicted. And that's not explicitly written in the Constitution or anything. It started with a memo that's more than 40 years old.
We have that policy thanks to a man named Robert Dixon, who was the head of the Department of Justice's Office of Legal Counsel way back in 1973, when they authored a memo that says a president cannot be indicted while sitting in office.
That's right. Trump can't be indicted because of a memo written in 1973. People ignore memos every day. We sent out 15 memos, but Devin's still microwaving fish in the break room. Now, those guidelines are part of why Robert Mueller didn't charge Trump with obstruction of justice. In fact, Mueller will testify on Wednesday in Congress, where he will surely be asked point blank by Democrats if Trump would have been indicted had it not been for those guidelines. And today in the Oval Office, Trump pretended like he wouldn't be paying that much attention to the hearings.
No, I'm not going to be watching, probably, maybe I'll see a little bit of it. I'm not going to be watching Mueller because you can't take all those bites out of the apple. He still ruled no collusion, no obstruction, and this thing should have ended a long time ago. This has been going on for 2.5 years.
No, I agree with you that this thing that's been going on for 2.5 years should have ended a long time ago. Also, no one believes you when you say you're not going to be watching. All you do is watch TV. If the Mueller hearings weren't on, you'd be live tweeting Days of Our Lives. Jessica's evil twin is back from the dead. Not nice. And it's not just Mueller. Last week, we also found out that the Justice Department guidelines might be why Trump wasn't charged with the crime in the hush money schemes he orchestrated during the 2016 campaign to cover up affairs, which ultimately resulted in his personal fixer, Michael Cohen, going to jail. Last week, we found out that investigators said that Trump was the one who was directly involved when a court unsealed documents detailing Trump's communication with Cohen to coordinate the illegal hush payments.
Breaking news. New documents released last hour, prompting a very big and very uncomfortable question for the White House. Did the president commit a crime? Today, a judge unsealed search warrant materials in connection to the Michael Cohen case and the effort to buy the silence of women who say they had affairs with the president. The documents mention the president by name.
According to the documents, then candidate Donald Trump, his former attorney, and former aide Hope Hicks may have discussed ways to stop adult film star Stormy Daniels from going public about an alleged affair with Trump. According to an FBI special agent who wrote in the affidavit, a series of phone calls took place in October 2016, just before the election.
A lead FBI investigating agent writes in the documents, based on the timing of these calls and the content of the text messages and emails, I believe at least some of these communications concern the need to prevent Clifford, a reference to Stormy Daniels, from going public, particularly in the wake of the Access Hollywood story.
The president was allegedly involved in the cover-up of a crime in the last weeks of the presidential election, and it wasn't even like in the top 10 news stories last week. This is how he wears us down. It's like being in a zombie movie. Anybody can outrun one zombie, but when your city is crawling with zombies, you're like, it, just eat me. Like, I don't want to not be a zombie. I'll be a zombie too. We'll all be zombies. This is the core of Trumpism. He marries racism with corrupt plutocracy. It's not just his cabinet that's been riddled with scandal. He's doled out tax cuts to the wealthy and corporations, slashed environmental regulations, and gutted consumer protections. And of course, he's been personally profiting off the presidency himself.
The Washington Post reports that lobbyists representing the Saudi government paid for an estimated 500 rooms at President Trump's D.C. hotel in the months after his election. The total bill for those trips, more than $270,000.
T-Mobile executives booked dozens of nights at the Trump Hotel last year once their merger needed Trump administration approval.
NBC News has obtained documents showing that Trump International Hotel billed the Secret Service $215,000 for the period between September 2016 and February 2018.
President Trump's golf habit has cost the American people some $102 million and counting.
So not only has the presidency allowed Trump to commit indictable offenses with impunity, it's also allowed him to personally profit off the presidency. I wouldn't be surprised if he just started selling off pieces of the Oval Office on Craigslist. Good desk, made of wood, has light ketchup stains. So Trump's base gets to revel in his open racism while he plunders the government and doles out favors and tax cuts to his rich buddies. Who knows if he'll ever be held accountable for his crimes? When it comes to the Trump presidency, one thing is clear.
This thing should have ended a long time ago.
This has been A Closer Look.